Also, I'm not late. I'm glad.
Joining me right now are a couple of the guys from the band Strange Legend, Sam Kerr, who provides the drums, and Gary. You just jumped on, and I did not. I'm gonna try. Is it Eunice, or am I way off on pronouncing your last name?
You did better than a lot of people, man.
the, look, here on the show, we always accept partial credit. So I will accept better than most other people. And you're the vocalist and the songwriter for the band. So it's great to talk to you both. I was listening to some of your music right before we got started. Now, Gary, reading about you, it says that you're from Paris. So to me, that tells me that probably a lot of your influences would be, more British than than somebody that grew up like Gary, that Sam grew up here in Southern California. But what were some of your influences growing up over there? Do you feel like you were just exposed more to, really mostly British artists, rock and metal artists?
Um, Definitely more than French rock artists.
Sure.
French.
Yeah, we could talk for an hour, and I don't know that I could come up with a French rock artist. I,
Well,
I could try.
there was a legend. Johnny Hallyday was for sure the
Okay,
greatest one. It's like your Elvis, but rock
sure.
is not, of course, as popular in France as in England or America. I think my dog agree with me. Sorry for the barking, but I think definitely the English bands always drove me. I had some influences by American band like The Doors,
Sure.
Nirvana, Guns N' Roses for sure, Soundgarden. But I mean, in my teenage for sure, it was a big time for grunge. So all the CDs from Nirvana were in the in our class. But I will say, yeah, band like Queen, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Rolling Stone, Beatles,
Sure.
Deep Purple,
Well,
all this trend was for sure big.
and as a singer and frontman, I mean, obviously you've isolated some of the best, and I also read in your notes, you're talking about Jim Morrison, you're talking about
Yeah.
Chris Cornell, obviously, Mick Jagger, who I just saw a couple weeks ago in Vegas. They tell me he's 78, but I
He's
think
not.
he no, he moves better. I'm 45, and I'm like, I couldn't do that for one song. You
Yeah.
know, I'm not even talking about the singing. Obviously, I can't. No, I couldn't walk around the stage that long. I'm like, I need a nap, just watching him. But
You just
it's
had a
interesting.
heart surgery too. I mean,
Yeah, right. No, exactly.
Mhm.
So obviously, you're looking at some of the best, and one of the things that I thought that stood out was, I think that not necessarily the same genre, but Prince was obviously one of the ultimate frontmen. And about a month or two ago, I spoke with a writer named Touré who wrote a book about him, and I was reading that he was actually terrible when he got started in terms of not musically, but in terms of performing. And he actually watched videos of Jim Morrison amongst others. And I think it's you can really learn
Wow,
so
that's cool.
much from. Yeah. And it's like, obviously his music didn't sound like the Doors at all, but he understood, like, well, I'm going to just take a look at the best ever and see what they do. So it seems like, Gary, that was definitely your approach too, was really just, you know, the, what can't I learn from the best ever to, front a band.
yeah, like Freddie Mercury for me is the best
Oh
frontman
yeah.
of all time for sure. I try to see a lot of his shows, but I agree. I agree. We all take a lot of influences from our predecessors, and I didn't know about this about Prince. I know he was very sensitive, so probably he was also affected by the public at the beginning. But I think I have a friend who saw him 7 times on a row
Ooh.
every day, that she couldn't believe the show he was giving. So I guess it was probably at the beginning of his career,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
no, at the very beginning, even before he was signed, it was
oh,
just like
okay,
everybody's like, you're so talented, but you're
yeah,
so awkward on stage, and you don't know how to, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think he liked criticism, but he knew they were right. And so he just, and this is like in the early 80s, where it's not, right now, if the three of us are like, yeah, let's take a look at some Freddie Mercury and Jim Morrison, we could just, with a couple of touches of a button, we could do that. So
Yeah.
to
true, that's
study
true.
like that.
I
uh
I I
Go
uh,
ahead.
I really like what you say. Actually, I think it's very interesting. I went to this theater last time, and met this guy who is guys from the '70s, and he just to try to get back to this feeling. But he said that at that time he didn't have the resources we have now. To we can look to all the shows
Yeah.
and have so many resources to see with the music that they didn't have at that time. So that's a very good point to not put all in the garbage our time. Thank you for this positive.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And from the little bit that I've seen, it definitely shows. I mean, there's a video and there's other music we'll talk about. But Sam, I wanted to talk to you a little bit because reading about some of your influences, obviously as a drummer, there are names that you hear a lot, and you isolated on your list really stood out to me. Obviously Mark Portnoy, people know how great he is, from his time with Dream Theater. And I
Right.
think Travis Barker from Blink 182 is not somebody that you think of right away, but then when you think about that band and the music, you're just like, yeah, the drum is so specific, like what he does for that band, it's and it's not something that I thought about. I don't think I've talked to somebody that jumps out as an influence. So kind of talk about some of the drumming that you heard, and guys like Mark and Travis, that really it caught your ear, and you're like, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to see how hard I can hit things, and the loud noises that I can make.
Yeah, that's funny. Todd Zuckerman from Styx, another favorite drummer of mine. He said it was a while back, but he goes, "Yeah, guys tell me that I play incorrectly with my technique," and he goes, "Well, my technique's fine. I just play drums like a man." So as far as hitting everything hard, that was a
Yeah.
great one.
I can confirm that.
Yeah. But as far as Travis Barker goes, I mean, that was a very early influence for me,
Sure.
drumming. I loved how he could use the bare minimum and, make, so much noise. That was one of my biggest things. And then especially after I started gigging, I started to see, bringing 5 million drums and 5 million cymbals to a show is like impossible and a bit ridiculous. So you got to, learn to use what you have. And he kind of, I can't say taught me that, but watching him play, I was like, man, this guy is doing a lot of stuff and he doesn't really have much going on. So that was a big thing. And then I, evolved a little bit. And Mike Portnoy, that was another one, especially with double bass. When I was learning how to, play double bass, he kind of guided the way through the tunnel on that one, because that was pretty difficult, especially figuring out, what technique you want to use and whatnot. I remember spending, a whole Christmas up in San Francisco visiting my grandmother, and I brought my, double kick pedal, and I set up a pad on a stand and just practiced the crap out of it when I was up there. And I don't use it that often, like a lot of metal bands and whatnot, but I like to use it tastefully, especially with the double bass.
Yeah, and you said something interesting. So I'm sure, like, actually, regardless of who they are, even if they went on to be established names that we wouldn't know, actually seeing drummers live, I would imagine that you can watch all the video you want of Neil Peart, but to actually see somebody playing and just to see what the reaction is. Were there growing up in Southern California, were there anybody that you saw live that made a huge difference from what you would hear on albums or see on video?
Not so much. It was more of the same. I know I saw a show with Bullet for My Valentine, and I forget the guy's name, the drummer, off the top of my head, but that was just, I was like, wow, I was blown away at how he was playing. And it wasn't nothing too complicated or complex, but it was just every beat he was there, like right on time. It was like perfect.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting because it's sometimes it's not the most technically applauded drummers that you see, but I do remember amongst I think seeing Rob Zombie once, the drums like were shaking the place, but also
Yeah,
when I was much younger, I saw Poison open for somebody, and I was just
Okay.
like, I don't know how that band makes that drum sound live, because it's like, it's not something you think of. But
Yeah.
you know, you really, that's the thing. It's like, you know, a really powerful drumming. You know, it almost kind of overwhelms you in a good way. I think.
Yeah.
Gary, I
Oh
wanted to
yeah.
ask you kind of a similar question in terms of seeing actual singers. You know, we're talking about watching the videos. Were there people that you would see perform live there in Paris, and you know, you connected with them because you're in the building with them in a way that's different than, you know, either listening or watching them?
Yeah, well, I've loved to see a lot of artists live. Unfortunately, they were dead before. But I
Holograms are
have
coming, man. Don't worry.
what? Sorry.
Holograms are coming.
That's
Yeah,
true. Hey,
I'm-
you know, the Ronnie James Dio hologram was out there a couple years ago, and you know, that I know they wanted to do Roy Orbison, and I've heard about a lot of them, so it's true. Yeah, you know, how far away do you think we really are from the Jim Morrison hologram? Probably not that far.
No.
probably not that far. I think you're right, and but I think it's completely, especially true for our band. Like we really think that the experience is live, the full experience. Everybody that show our shows say that they really enjoy this full experience. I think for me, I saw obviously Rolling Stone. That was pretty insane in Stade de France. I saw also Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's not like hard rock, but it was really I was really impressed by the move, and it was really yeah. There was not so many artists that I was really fan of that I saw, because like Jimi Hendrix, Mercury, Morrison, they all died. And I would love to see obviously Bowie and Prince. Didn't happen too.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. This is a truly this is truly a big part of the live of the rock band is the live shows, right? That's why when we met, we only rehearsed for almost 1 year and a half. That was a little complicated to really, feel what it will be with some public and stuff. And now we're finally able to do shows, so it's a good
Yeah,
thing.
and who do you think are some of the Dogs' favorite singers?
Oh yeah, actually, he recorded in a song. He recorded in a song I did a long time ago, and like he barked and he said, "Oh, yeah, we should keep it." So he's also an artist and did some movies. I think
Nice.
he doesn't really like hard rock when it's too loud. Definitely, I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm
No,
gonna
he likes the you know, the novelty song of the
yeah.
keyboard
He
where
likes
it's the
Yeah.
Scorpions.
dogs singing
Who
Jingle
let the dogs
Bells.
out?
Yeah.
What's up, Nero?
Yeah.
This is
Baha Men, Who Let the Dogs Out. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
was the
that's
dog.
every dog's favorite.
He's probably
So
like more spiritual music.
let's talk a little bit about how Strange Legend comes together, Sam. What, you know, Gary just sort of referenced that you guys rehearsed for a little bit more than a year, but who meets first? And you know, were you guys in other bands at the time? Tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about it, Sam. How Strange Legend comes together.
I was taking a break from drumming actually for a few years, and I was going through ads on Craigslist. Yeah, what do they say? Don't trust what you meet on Craigslist.
Hmm.
Anyways, so I met Tony, and we actually met up at a studio in LA and met there, and that's when he was working with our older singer Kyle, and we started rehearsing. He had a few riffs. That was about it. We didn't even have a name at the time, and we played for maybe a year or so, and then we finally came up with the name. Josh, he met us there, and that was weird. Like, we had a guy come in that knew Tony, and he wanted to like recruit everyone separately for his own band, and I had to tell him to leave. And then Josh showed up like half an hour later, and we kind of were on the fence about him. And I go, look, man, like, he hasn't played in a while, just like me. And I go, hey, you gave me a chance, let's give him a chance. And then we ended up playing with Josh, and he's a great he is a great help in the songwriting process, and his bass lines are ridiculous. He says he's not good. We're like, dude, you're really actually really good. But yeah, so that whole thing happened, and then this is where we're at today with everything.
And Gary, how do you come into the picture? At what point do you? I assume you guys all got together in Los Angeles. It sounds like. So, at what point, Gary, do you come out to LA?
Oh yeah, I came to LA a few years before. Actually, was a street music player for 1 year here. So that's when I moved here. I was playing in Venice Bowl in Santa Monica all the year, probably like 5 or 6 hours a day. A lot of rock songs,
Sure.
and
A lot of Jim Morrison, right?
a lot of Jim Morrison, a lot of Led Zeppelin. Actually, met a guitarist, so that was the best school for me to train, especially to get rid of your ego, because this is the best way to just not give a fuck whatever people say. So
Right. Right.
that was a great experience. But then I just began to find cover bands. So I played some shows in the Whiskey, and I wanted to be able to do my originals and also be able to create originals with another band. And I was at that time in between another cover band and about to learn 300 songs. There was like always already headache about it. I was like, shit, I really have to go through that again. And I went to see this band camp. It was COVID, so I didn't really expect anything. And just so I'm gonna do an audition. I don't even know if there will be a band anymore or live shows someday. So I'm just gonna go for fun. And we just rehearsed this song "Can Breathe," which is our first single, which I connect very much because it has a lot of
Yeah,
blues.
Gary hit it out of the park, like 100 feet out of the park.
Yeah, I consider myself a lot as a blues, same as Morrison, of course, a blues singer from my roots. I really begin by singing blues, also like House of Rising Sun, all these songs, and I connect with a lot with the spirit. So just a regular website, and then we rehearse for all the year, right before our first show in the Whiskey.
Yeah, when Gary came in, it was great, man, because we've had like when we're looking for a singer, we had maybe at least 40 guys come through the
Right.
doors. So it was really difficult, and we were really picky. We knew what we wanted, and we told some of these guys, hey, check out one or two of these songs we have, learn a little bit of it, and come to practice. A lot of them, didn't do that. They just pushed it out like, oh no, let's work on. Oh, I got my stuff. It's like, well, hey, if you're coming into a group, you want to kind of learn their
Yeah.
stuff. I think, and Gary totally uh, did a great job with that. It was perfect.
Oh, it's interesting that you say that because very recent. My wife's a television writer, and
Okay,
she recently got hired on a show for Disney Plus. It's in
Oh
its second
wow,
season,
congratulations!
and
nice.
yeah, thanks. And when she met with them, they said, "Oh, did you have a chance to watch the show?" She's like, "Well, yeah, of course, because I'm meeting." And they're like, "Oh yeah, no, most people didn't watch it." And I'm like, "Why are you? And we're not talking
How
about
could you
like."
not watch it?
You're trying. It's not like you're trying to write on, I don't know, Law and Order, where you have to watch like 20 years of a TV show. It's like there's 6 of them, and like people would like not take the time to watch it. So you're talking about, you said like 2 or 3 songs, right? It's like, just listen,
Yeah,
and maybe it's like, I really only connected with one of the 3, but
that's
why don't
fine.
you give a listen to that? But instead,
Uh,
it's like, no, I didn't do that. And
wow,
it's
that's
just so
wild.
strange. Yeah, it's so strange to think about, like, people trying to get any, a job, join a band, anything, and just like, you're not asking for a lot. Gary, you're talking
Uh,
about trying to learn 300 songs.
Yeah,
That's a pretty tall order, but you're talking
that
about
yeah.
was
3.
that was much more relief for me.
Oh,
And
sure, yeah.
also, my girlfriend is also working in TV. She's developing a TV series, so I know also a lot about this
Yeah.
world. It's a tough time, but definitely, if you find the right person and you, I think, like you say, show some interest and try to dig in, you can definitely be have good feedback. And I
Yeah.
think that was the case for us.
Well, I know we've only got a few more minutes, so I want to talk about "Can't Breathe." And
Yeah.
now, is Sam? Is that a song that existed before Gary came in, or Gary, did you write that song? Is it, where does the song come from in this
Yeah,
process?
Can't Breathe is actually one of Tony's. Tony's kind of the main songwriter. Gary is also a songwriter, but the stuff we have currently, Tony's kind of the one who took that. with Can't Breathe, he had it for a while, and I mean, we were playing in the garage, messing around with it. This is also, I just got back from like a 2-year break of playing drums, so I sucked, a lot. And so we
Get
were
that
just
on your
figuring it
feet.
out. And the like I mentioned to you, or I haven't mentioned it actually, sorry. The first singer we had, he had a difficult, he struggled, writing songs and whatnot. So Tony kind of took the torch and he just did it and figured it out. And that was the start of Can't Breathe. And then from there, it was just, layers, other guitaring, this and that. And that's what you're hearing today. And we ran across a few clips of us playing it when it was just, me and Tony in the band before we even met Josh. And I mean, it sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Way different than but that's how it is. When you're putting a song together, you take time with it, create it, it evolves. And that's what we have so far. That's where it came from.
It evolved a lot for sure, and we also saw the difference when we went to this producer team.
Definitely.
We have a producer
Yeah,
from
with
New
Sam.
Zealand who helped us build it as it is now, and so we are really happy about the work he did on the song too.
Right. And so I'm sure people can obviously find the video for the song Can't Breathe, and obviously more info on, you guys have 6 songs for an EP, strangelegend.com,
We have
Instagram
a
and
video
Facebook.
coming too.
Yeah.
New video coming from the.
There's a new video coming. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Acoustic song.
yeah, and on Instagram and Facebook, Strange Legend Official. It was interesting because in the notes I was reading about how, you guys as a band wanted to not necessarily get pigeonholed, like we are this kind of music. And there's only really a snippet of it on the website, but you had a song, I think the title was The Verge of Bliss, and it sounds so different from all the other ones.
Yeah.
And it's not like any album from the 90s where there's like the one ballad that sounds different. It's just a completely different sounding kind of song. So I thought that that's sort of interesting that, and it's not that I'm not saying that the other songs all sound the same, but there's, kind of a similar vibe to them. And then there's this one that's completely different.
Yeah, and that's
so
exactly what we we were going for. And Tony, I mean, he has about 30. Okay, so when you see a group and they have an acoustic song,
yeah,
most of the time it's a heavier song rendered down to an acoustic version. So we don't do that. We have our heavier songs, and we also have our completely different acoustic songs, which we've been working on. And like you mentioned, the Verge of Bliss is that exact thing. We're coming out with a video for it, hopefully by the end of this month, and that's going to be, like, I guess you could say, our acoustic single.
Okay.
And then we check out, if you have some time, check out our YouTube channel. It's Strange Legend, and we have another acoustic. It's kind of a twist off of, or spin off of the acoustic songs that we have, and it's kind of raising awareness for the dolphin and whale hunting that's going on out there. So we have that in our pocket too. So I mean, we got 3 out of the 4 pockets on the pants. We got to find the 4th one.
That's right. You might need to get one of those Michael Jackson jackets that had all the zipper pockets.
I would love this one.
Right.
Which, by the way, those still look pretty cool. I know your website says you guys have a show coming up in January in North Hollywood, basically walking distance from where I live. So
Nice.
what's the plan for 2022? Try and just get out there as much as possible. I mean,
Exactly.
even here in Southern California, it's a lot easier to go to shows than it was even 4 or 5 months ago.
Right.
The ideal
the
school
first time I went to the whiskey a couple months ago, and I'm like, well, if the whiskey's open, then everything should be open.
Everything is open. Yeah.
But we're looking for some festivals also for 2022. We're sending our EP to some festivals, maybe first part of big bands too, and keep on releasing. As you say, our influences are very diverse. We have hard rock, metal. We have also like more spiritual world music that we integrate in it, and it's two faces of the spectrum, the light and darkness, which I believe can talk to a lot of people. So just keep on working, promoting, and doing the most show we can.
Well, I look
Yep.
forward to hearing more, and hopefully, you guys are going to be playing a lot, and hopefully get a chance to check you out at some point. Again,
Yeah,
strangelegend.com and Strange Legend Official Facebook and Instagram. Sam and Gary, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to chatting again in the near
brother.
future.
Thank you
You
very
got
much
it.
for
Don't
having
forget to
us.
check out our YouTube page.
Right, and Strange Legend. Thanks again, guys.
Cool.
Thank you,
Take care.
Christian. Have a great day, man.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye, Sam.